Celtics Pregame Live is presented by TD Bank, Bank of the Boston Celtics. Member FDIC, TD Bank, N.A.
Kyrie Irving is in the building. He will play in front of Celtics fans tonight for the first time since he departed Boston for his quote-unquote hometown team, the Brooklyn Nets. Welcome in here to Celtics Pregame Live, presented by TD Bank. It has been a long couple of days following Kyrie's inflammatory comments after Game 2. Welcome in here. I am Abby Chin alongside Kendrick Perkins. And Perk, we are going to, of course, dive deeper into that conversation that Kyrie sparked, for better or for worse. But I do have to tell you that Jaylen Brown just felt compelled to speak for the first time since he went down with injury, and he had a lot to say. We're going to bring that to you in just a few moments. But Perk, now that you've had a couple of days to think about Kyrie and coming to play inside TD Garden for the first time with fans, what do you think?
It was going to have to come to this point at some point in time, right? Where he was going to have to make a return. And here it is. At the end of the day, my point was this. As we watch other activities go on around the league, and we watch the Russell Westbrook situation along with the Trae Young situation, along with the Ja Morant and with his parents' situation, it's happening in every NBA arena. But guess what? The NBA is handling it. The Players Association is handling it, banning fans for life. So, look, I expect this Celtic crowd to be rowdy. I expect them to be, bringing that Celtic intensity, that Celtic pride as usual. I mean, hell, this is the first playoff game with us being able to have, 18,000 fans in there?
Only 5,000 tonight, Perk. Sunday will be closer to capacity, but 5,000 tonight.
5,000. It still need to be loud. Let's get back to basketball.
Yes, sir. And let's hope that Celtics team brings that intensity down 2-0 in this series. We are going to talk hoop. We will, of course, bring you those comments from Jaylen Brown. This is Celtics Pregame Live, and we are ready to rock for Game 3.
I'm feeling like a rock
Irving, for whatever his intentions were on Tuesday night, sparked a conversation about racism and fandom in Boston. Here now are those comments and part of the conversation that has continued. Fellow NBA players speaking about their experiences, including Bruce Brown, who is a Dorchester, Massachusetts native.
It's not my first time being an opponent in Boston. I'm just looking forward to competing with my teammates and, hopefully we can just keep it strictly basketball. There's no belligerence or any racism going on, subtle racism and people yelling from the crowd. But even if it is, it's part of the nature of the game, and we're just going to focus on what we can control.
Is it something you've experienced in Boston before?
I'm not the only one that could attest to this, but it's just, it won't. It is what it is.
The whole world does.
I've heard a couple of it, and it's kind of sad and sickening because, even though it's an opposing team, we have guys on your home team, that you're saying these racial slurs and you expect us to go out here and play for you. It's tough, but like I said, we just really want everybody to be respected on and off the court. We want that same respect that we give the fans and the crowd to come out here and entertain and put on a good show. And, not interfere in that type of manner with them. We expect the same in return for us on the court.
Young guys experienced a few things for sure. It's my city. You grow up and you get used to it. You try to really not think about it too much. I definitely, in my high school days, experienced a few things for sure. It's tough. Get through it. I try not to worry about it too much. High school, I've called a few names before. I've been called a monkey before, just because I was dating the opposite race at the time. So it was tough at the time, but now it's just like whatever.
That is just part of the conversation, but one that Celtics All-Star Jaylen Brown has been listening to over the last couple of days as he recovers from wrist surgery. Jaylen felt compelled to speak to the media for the first time tonight, and here's what he had to say.
Actually, guys, for any questions, I actually have a perspective to share. I've kind of seen the things floating around with Boston and the topic of racism. And the people around me urge that I should share my perspective. I have not talked to anyone, not Kyrie, Marcus, or Danny Ainge about my thoughts or my perspective, but I do think it's a good conversation. And I think that racism should be addressed and or systemic racism should be addressed in the city of Boston, and it also should be addressed in the United States. However, I do not like the manner it was, brought up in terms of centering around a playoff game. It bothers me if, the construct of racism, right, is, used as a crutch or an opportunity to execute a personal gain. I'm not saying that's the case, but I do think racism right now is bigger than basketball. And I do think racism is bigger than Game 3 of the playoffs. So I want to urge the media to paint that narrative as well. Because when it's painted in that manner, it's insensitive to people who are actually dealing with, racism on a daily basis. The constructs and the constraints of systemic racism in our school system, inequality in education, lack of opportunity, lack of resources, adequate housing, affordable housing, adequate healthcare, tokenism, and the list goes on. So, I recognize my privilege as an athlete, but once you get to a certain point, nothing that you experience overtakes the experiences that people deal with on a daily basis. So I want to emphasize that as well. I understand the frustration right now. I've seen what's going on in sports and in sporting arenas with the two incidents I've seen is with Russell Westbrook and Trae Young, and I'm pissed. To be honest, I don't think we should have to put up with that, and I don't think that's okay by any means necessary. But when I look in the media and I see those incidents attached to like the frame of racism, yes, I think it's important to address those situations. But if the topic is racism, I think that those incidents don't compare, or those belligerent comments don't compare to what, systemic racism is currently doing in our community and has done in the past. So it's important to frame it in that context. I think that racism, I think that not every Celtics fan, I know that every Celtics fan in our arena is not a racist. We have people of all walks of life, ethnicities, colors that are diehard Celtics fans. So I think by painting every Celtics fan as a racist would be unfair. However, Boston, we got a lot of work to do. No question. Incarceration rate is ridiculous. The wealth disparity is embarrassing. The inequality in education, specifically in Boston public schools, needs to be better. There's lack of resources there, lack of opportunity. The tokenism here in Boston needs to be addressed as well. But if we're going to talk about it, and that's what the media is going to bring up, I think a sporting arena, things might exist, but in the real world, things exist to far different extremities. So I definitely want to share my perspective, and this is my opinion, of course, and people can challenge that. I definitely think Boston, we got a lot of work to do, but that's it, really. I'm not really answering any questions, guys. I just wanted to share my perspective. Thank you.
I'm joined now by Perk and our Celtics insider, Chris Forsberg. Perk, After listening to Jaylen Brown just now, all I can think of is what we said so many times in the bubble when the social justice movement was at the forefront. And that is just how proud I am to know Jaylen Brown and how proud I am of the leader that he's become.
Absolutely. And if it's one person, one young person that I will listen to and gain knowledge from on a day-to-day basis when you talk about what's going on in the world for us, racism, in social justice, it's Jaylen Brown. And right there, he had my full undivided attention. He didn't take sides. He said how he felt, and he made a lot of sense behind it. That's the thing. He made sense, and he made me realize certain things. He made me think about certain things, and you could tell it came from a genuine place. He knows what the hell he's talking about. You could tell it came from in his soul. This is why I love Jaylen Brown, not just on the court, but off the court. And I say it every single time. Every time this man gets on the podium and gets to talk about real life things, it kills me to know that I'm 12 years older than him, and he's enlightening me. This is how you address problems, like he did.
Yeah, bravo, Jaylen Brown. You know, like there's no reason he had to address the media. Like he could have. I'm sure he has to talk about his injury at some point, but it was clearly on his mind watching this conversation play out, and he felt it was important. And for 3 days, he's been able to digest this, and I think better than anyone else out there has been able to lay out like how a lot of us feel about this and say that there needs to be a bigger change beyond just basketball. And I thought just the perfect way to frame it, and exactly what we needed to hear.
I was furious on Tuesday night hearing from Kyrie and his attempt to change the narrative. Over the last couple days, though, Perk, hearing from so many people, I don't know what his intentions were, but I do think at the very least he sparked a conversation. Mm-hmm. And so something that is worth talking about. I just, like Jaylen Brown so eloquently said, I just don't like and don't believe that it's the right thing to do, the manner in which he broached that conversation.
Absolutely. I mean, and listen, Abby, Chris, in the world that we're living in right now, and the things that how we're fighting for equal rights for everyone. It don't matter if you're Asian, if you're white American, African American, Spanish, whatever your nationality is, whatever your race is. At the end of the day, I know that everyone who's fighting the fight are fighting it for the right reasons. Okay. But at the end of the day, like I said, Jaylen Brown broke it down to the T. And he do make you realize that we do have to have these uncomfortable conversations. But I just agree 100% with Jaylen Brown that the manner that it was brought up in, I just can't agree with.
But I think you nailed it, Abby. Like, we wouldn't be having this conversation if Kyrie didn't bring it up. And it was absolutely probably not the right way to go about it. But like, we're having hard conversations now. We're being forced to think differently about sporting arenas and the way that fans interact with basketball players. And then just that's only on the micro level. And then like step back and, just how this affects us on the day to day. And so I'm glad we're having these conversations. And it's nice that Jaylen has taken it and moved it forward, right? Like, we could sit here and linger on, why did Kyrie say it and what's it going to be like in Boston? But now we're moving forward and like, how can we actually make honest to goodness changes so that we can stop talking about this and actually get to the root of the matter?
But real quick, like, this is another thing, right? We're talking about racism, right, that's going on in arenas. We do have to realize that it's racism going on with people that work at Walmart together. It's racism that's going on at people that work at refineries together. It's racism going on at people that work at Costco's together. It's racism all over the world. People are getting fired because of the color of their skin. People are going through certain things. Their bosses are putting them through the ringer because of their race. So let's not just focus on just particular for us when it comes down to athletes. Everyone that is working and have a job is dealing with some type of issue when it comes down to racism.
No question. And I think that's why Jaylen used that word perspective in two ways. This is how he views the situation, but also we have to maintain a perspective that these are athletes. This is one arena where this is happening. When you look at the world at large and what everyone is dealing with, especially in the African-American community, I mean, it's something that, as he said, when it comes to systemic racism, it's something that needs to change. And it is not, to me, that doesn't begin with, and it needs to start somewhere, but like Jaylen was saying, there are bigger issues than what is going on in the arenas. And when you focus only on that, it doesn't begin to solve what the larger issues are.
And it's everywhere. It's not it's not just Boston. It's not just Utah. Not these cities that we all sort of bring up. It's everywhere. And that's what we need to figure out, so that the conversation is just on a bigger level.
So at the very least, whatever his motives were, at least Kyrie has opened this conversation. I will give him credit for that. I will not give him credit for the fans in the arena, Perk, have gone wild. Jaylen addressed it, and I mean, I know we've all been locked inside our homes for the better part of a year, but once you get let out, they have gone absolutely crazy. 3 incidents in one night going on through the NBA playoffs, and it's something that is inexcusable. Chris mentioned it in Utah. 3 fans were banned for verbal incident directed at Ja Morant's family, which is absolutely not okay. The incident that played out, Russell Westbrook getting popcorn dumped on him as he left the court, and then in the Knicks game at Madison Square Arena, Trae Young apparently getting spit on. Tristan Thompson, when asked about these incidents, said he does not believe the punishment of fans just being banned from the arena is nearly enough.
Should probably also be like a fine, like a criminal fine, because like, if you spit on someone down the street, don't you get fined or arrested or something like that? So if you spit on people in the arena and you can't spit on someone in the street, it should be the same protocol, I think. So.
Final question, Zach Braziller.
I dare my on me. I'll follow you right to your house.
Perk, do you think things have gotten worse?
Well, I do. I mean, but it's the time that we're living in, right? Think about what all happened before, the arenas opened back up, right? We're dealing with the George Floyd situation, okay? People protesting, what happened at Capitol Hill, right? Just think about all what's been going on from, electing a president, the things that, former President Donald Trump said. Like, it's so much going on in the world right now that at any given time, you don't know what individual is thinking or what they're mad about or what's going on through their mind. That's why I said at the end of the day, the only thing that you can control is the things that you could control. I can't control nobody else's actions. Now, if they happen to make the idiotic actions, then let the proper, repercussions happen to them. But you just don't never know right now, a day and age. We don't know what's like. You scared to walk in the local grocery store because you don't know if something is going to happen or if you're going to be a victim to something of a shooting. Like, it's just, this is the world that we're living in right now.
And it feels almost like an extension of social media where people just say like the most mean things and do the most like craziest things that they would never do in person. But now it is extended to real life, and I don't understand it. Again, I don't know if it's just because we've all been cooped up for so long and people are just wilding out, but good to see the NBA trying to reel it in because, you just can't have that. And I feel so bad for players because you see like Russell Westbrook. What do you do in that situation? You are enraged, but it's not like you can go up there and do something about it, but could you blame if you did?
Mm-hmm. It is. It's just disappointing. We've waited so long. It was so at Domino's.com. James Harden warming up. What do the Nets' big 3 have in store for the Boston Celtics tonight? The Celtics looking to avoid going down in their series 3-0. As we look at the playoff bracket in the East, it's brought to you by your New England Ford dealers. The Heat already down 3-0 to the Bucks. Miami, by the way, those goons from Dade County, Perk. The East reigning champs, fell to the Bucks last night by 30+. It is their second straight 30+ loss. I think the Bucks clearly got over the hump in Game 1. That was a close one, and they have opened things up since then. The question, Perk, is, as I'm back here with Perk and Chris, The Heat, and then to me, the bigger picture is you look at these teams in the Celtics and the Heat played so long in the bubble, had such a shortened offseason, experienced very similar seasons in inconsistency, dealing with injuries and COVID. I feel like this is expected. We've been so down and the Celtics not meeting expectations. You're seeing the same thing play out in Miami as well.
Yeah, I could agree with that, Abby, but the fact of the matter is the Bucks are just that good, okay? They're really that good. They have a big three in Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday. You have Giannis right now who's averaging 24 points, 16 rebounds. You have Drew Holiday who's almost averaging a triple-double, 16, 10, and 7. Chris Middleton, 22 points on 43% shooting from the three. They're playing phenomenal basketball offensively. Defensively, they have everything and more. Rim protection and Giannis and Brook Lopez. Perimeter defense with Drew Holiday. Even Chris Middleton has elevated his defensive prowess. And then you have a guy like P.J. Tucker and Bobby Portis who are coming off the bench along with a Connaughton. So this team is deep. They look like they're well prepared and on a mission. And I understand the bubble effect with Miami, but it's more about Milwaukee to me than it is Miami going through issues.
Yeah, I'm with Perk, but I think the Bucks wanted all the smoke, right? They wanted Miami. Yeah. They wanted to prove themselves again. And Giannis, there was nothing Giannis could accomplish during the regular season that was going to change the way we felt about him. We knew he was going to fade from the MVP conversation because people just get tired of voting for him, no matter how good he is. But the one thing left for him is to show that he can do it on the playoff stage. And now he has a supporting cast that can make him even better out there. I don't want to look ahead, especially because Celtics fans will get angry for me at doing this, but I really want to see Bucks and Nets. I want to see how those two teams match up. I want to see how the Nets are able to go against a team like Milwaukee. So if that materializes, I'm not saying hey, maybe the Celtics make this interesting, but if it does, I'm fascinated to watch that series.
And I guess that's just my bigger point. I'm not saying anything, but I mean, the Nets are really good too. You guys are talking about raving about the Bucks.
It's okay to say it.
Look
They're
at the Nets.
Good team.
All right, take your shot with the all-new pick and roll game from NBC Sports Predictor, powered by PointsBet. Play for free and get a chance to win cash prizes every week. Scan the QR code on the screen to download the NBC Sports Predictor app today. Back here, coming up, we get you set for Game 3 between the Celtics and the Nets. Marcus Smart looking for a little edge, a little toughness from his team. Will he get it? We get you ready.
Celtics playoff coverage is presented by Arbella Insurance. Here for Banner 18. Here for good.
As Rob Williams catches up with DeAndre Jordan, he has been a DNP so far in this series, the Nets big man, but with injuries, could we possibly see him out there tonight? Here is the health report. It's brought to you by South Coast Health, providing the exceptional care you need and trust. Then, now, always. South Coast Health, more than medicine. Kemba Walker is available despite dealing with a bone bruise. You'll hear more from Brad Stevens on that coming up. As you know, Jaylen Brown is out. But the news, Jeff Green will miss likely the rest of this series. He's been dealing with left plantar fascia. Steve Nash said that opens up more minutes for Nick Claxton. However, we could see DeAndre Jordan as well. So here's a look at the first two games in this series between the Celtics and Nets. And yeah, it's pretty lopsided. These numbers brought to you by TD Bank. We know the Celtics down 2-0. They can't score, averaging just over 100 points a game, not shooting well, shooting less than 40%, and not getting the stops when they need it. The defense allowing the Nets 117 points per game. As we get back here, getting you set for Game 3. Let's hear now from Tristan Thompson on what he wants to see from his squad tonight.
The way the game went in Game 2, and them kind of beating the out of us. We got to come out and throw the first punch, whether it's a hard foul or an illegal screen, or even if it's a little shoving match. We got to bring some life, and however we need to do that, we got to do that. And especially with them, bumping and shoving, our star player. Us other guys, we got to make it tough on their stars. So not saying going out there to intentionally hurt someone, but, you got to make them feel you.
I'm joined now by Perk and our analyst, Brian Scalabrine. Guys, as the saying goes, it's not a series until someone gets a win on the road. Scal, what do you need to see from the Celtics from the jump here tonight?
Well, you got to play fast. They got to try to get out and get some easy baskets. They got to attack that paint, and they got to do it with force. You can't go soft with these guys. These guys are blocking your shot on the ball. That's usually not happening in the NBA, and they're doing it with the physicality. If the Celtics don't raise up their physicality, this series is over. And the thing is, I think the Celtics know that, and I think they're ready for it. I just when you're getting your head beat in and a team raises their level and they start punking you, I think it takes a while for you to understand. Now you go back and watch the film. I rewatched Game 2. The Celtics are getting manhandled, and the Brooklyn Nets are being the more chippy and the more physical team. So if the Celtics don't raise up their level in the first quarter, the series is over.
And Perk, if they don't do it in front of the fans at TD Garden, they're going to hear boos themselves.
Absolutely, and as they should. I mean, look, this is the playoffs, and I'm going to repeat this again. I get it. They are the ultimate underdogs. We all understand that. But at the end of the day, you got to have some type of level of fight inside of you. Like, I don't want to hear about it. Like, I don't want to hear Tristan Thompson interview talking about it. Like, show me. Show me. Go out there and compete. And look, I know there's two completely different situations, but it kind of reminds me of when KG went out, right? In our minds, we still had it on our mind that, hey, you know what? We about to go out here and compete, and we still about to try to make a title run. Never once did we doubt or say, oh, man, we ain't got KG. We have no chance. No. Doc Rivers said, hey, look, go out there, do what we do, and we still can win these games and win these series. And here it is. The Orlando Magic went to the finals. We took them to a Game 7. We could have beat them and made it back to the Eastern Conference Finals, but that's another story. But we competed. We elevated our game, Scal, and we competed. That's all I'm asking the Celtics to do is compete.
And when you do that, when you play with force, when you play with a purpose, you get superstar calls. As we look at another countdown tracker brought to you by Domino's, Jayson Tatum, so far, as we are under 24 minutes to tip off, so far not getting those calls. I mean, how does he get poked in the eye, hit in the head, and no whistle is called? That knocked him out of Game 2. Here are Jayson and his teammates on not getting pushed around here tonight.
I mean, you know, it wasn't intentional, but, you know, I felt like the ref was right there. But, you know, I feel like that's how... I guess that's how it goes sometimes.
Eventually, you're going to get tired of it, you know, and you're going to have to respond, you know. And at this point, you know, you got to protect yourself. You got to protect your teammates. So if the game's going to allow the other teams to do it to us, you got to be able to do it back regardless of what the consequence is, because obviously consequences don't matter because they get to do it and we don't. So at this moment, forget consequences, go out there. You got to protect yourself. So, you know, if we got to get into some faces, we got to get into some faces. You know, obviously we got here to play basketball, but like I said, we're all grown men, and we're going to fight back. Nobody's just going to be able to punk us like this.
Yes, Gal, there's no question. Everyone wants to see this Celtics team play with more edge. How do you balance that with, I mean, defending without fouling, but actually, you know, having an impact on the court?
I mean, you still got to execute. I mean, everyone's going to be playing hard. The Brooklyn Nets are playing hard as well. They're the ones playing with more edge so far. But I think the biggest thing is still going to be the ball movement and getting the ball to the paint and kicking it out. And then when you do get an opportunity, you have to level up. You have to understand that you have such a little room for error. You're going against Kevin Durant and James Harden, two, I think, the best scorers of our generation. So when you're playing against those guys, when you're Evan Fournier or Marcus Smart or Kemba Walker, and you got a chance, you do have a wide open shot, you got to stick it. And that's what playoff basketball is. And I think if they can pass the ball a lot better and understand that when you drive and put these guys in rotation and get open shots, and when you share the ball, I think the energy is completely different on the defensive end. So I wouldn't be focused so much on the physicality because you know you have to bring that. You have to lock in and make shots and make the right decisions when you're out there.
Yeah, that's something that Brad Stevens describes as mental toughness. But Perk, when it comes to Jayson Tatum, and he is good to go here tonight despite getting poked in the eye, he practiced over the last couple of days. But how does that foul not get called? And what kind of response do you want to see from his teammates?
Well, I mean, look, calls is one thing, all right, but being aggressive is another. I mean, that right there was an accident. Like, you know, if you're a ref, what do? You know, like at the end of the day.
You could go back and look at it.
I know, but Abby, to me, it sounds like they're searching for excuses, okay? And the fact of the matter is that they haven't been playing physical. When I watch Jason Tatum play physical, he's attacking whomever, whenever. He should embrace this. Kevin Durant is actually matching up with him, meeting him at half court, saying, I got Jason Tatum. This is Jason Tatum time to show him that, hey, I may be young, but I'm a young killer too. Like, that's what I want to see. I don't want to hear about they're able to get away with this and they're able to get away with that, because the Nets are not a physical team. Like, I can understand if they were playing the Lakers, a team that beat you up all day inside. This is not a physical team. This is a finesse team. This is that Maserati or that Bentley I was telling you about. This is not an F-350 pickup truck.
Scal, the last time we saw Jason Tatum on the parquet, he put up 50 in that play-in game. Are you laughing at the analogy? What kind of car is Jason Tatum? What are you expecting from him tonight?
I love those F-350s, man.
I know you do.
I mean, what do I expect, or what do I hope to see?
Hope to see from Jason.
I'm with. Listen, I want those shoulders getting downhill. I want Jason Tatum getting to the free throw line 10 times in the first quarter. I mean, that's what I want, but I have no idea what to expect. I have no idea how these guys are going to come out. I know I watched them all shoot. They all seem locked in. So can I take anything from that? It's one thing when you're locked in, when there's no one on you. Like, are you going to be able to level up when Kevin Durant has clearly taken the challenge and saying, not only am I the best offensive player in this series, but I'm going to be the best defensive player in this series as well. So this is a good moment. We talk about this. I've talked about this since day one. You want to win championships, you got to have top 5 players on your team. So this is a great opportunity for Jason Tatum to show the world. I'll go against 2 of the top scorers of our generation with Kyrie Irving down 0-2 and show you guys what I can do. But that's what I hope to see. I don't know what I don't know what I expect.
And I know, Scal, you keep saying that defense, you're not going to stop this Nets team, but you can do something to slow them down. And that brings us to our Ram Power Move. Hurry in for great deals during the Ram Spotlight sales event. Yes, the Nets have the big 3, but it was Joe Harris who outshined all of those guys in Game 2. A career playoff high 25 points, hit 7 threes, which is a Nets franchise history in the postseason. So the question is, Perk, I'm going to go to you since we're talking defense. What do the Celtics need to do to at least contain this Nets offense?
Well, just make them uncomfortable, Abby. And I said this time and time again. Make catches hard. Deny them, things to that nature. Be physical. When they come across half court, meet them. Try to pick them up. When Kevin Durant is pushing the ball, pick him up 94 feet and slide him. Make him turn his back. Make him have to crab dribble up the floor. They're playing too comfortable. They're cutting too comfortable. They're cutting with no type of resilience. Look, everything is just freely. Everything is just moving freely. Like, have them on their heels. Like, that's all I'm asking.
Scal.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty easy. Everything that Perk just said, but also add, take care of the basketball. Don't just turn it over, because when the Nets get out and run, he's the guy that everyone leaves open. And 2, when you go to the basket, go with force, because if they do block your shot or you do miss a layup, they're out and running. They're treating that like a turnover as well. So all those things in the half court, which I think they're doing a decent job in the half court with Joe Harris, but in transition, off of turnovers, off of missed layups, off of getting your shot blocked, all those things are leading to Joe Harris wide open, where he is teeing them up from 3.
I mean, he's the best three-point shooter in the NBA. The Celtics know that. You cannot lose him. Go ahead, Park.
What you said? What did you just say?
He's got the best shooting percentage from 3 in the NBA in the regular season.
Okay, but that's a difference than saying the best three-point shooter in the NBA.
He's the highest percentage throughout the entire regular season.
Steph Curry's the best.
All right. I'm just saying what the numbers say. Gentlemen, thank you. Scal, we'll see you shortly in the crossover. Right now, yes, the Celtics, the odds are stacked against them, down 0-2 in this series. But Steve Tornacki, here to give us a little bit of hope. Maybe. He's with Amina Smith.
Thanks, Abby. I'm joined now by NBC News national correspondent Steve Kornacki to dig into the bleak numbers facing the Celtics. Steve, what do you have for us?
Well, I got to tell you, I grew up in Massachusetts. I wish I had better numbers, but I'll take you through what I got. Look, no secret here. The Celtics in a hole. They come into the series, the big underdog as the 7 seed. They spot the Nets 2 games in Brooklyn. They come back home. Here it is right now. Coming into Game 3 tonight, the Celtics, a 2.3% chance of winning this series. Now, I think no surprise here either. If they lose tonight, if they go down 0-3 in the series, their chances of winning the series would then be 0.3%. Okay, but if they get the win, this 2.3 would go up to about 5%. They'd still be about 1 in 20 then. The model really punishes the Celtics for missing, not having Jaylen Brown here. But if they can get it to 2-1, the number moves to 5%. That's a 1 in 20 shot. And that maybe would open the door. Hey, if you could then win Game 4, tie the series, the numbers could start to get interesting. But the computer model that looks at this tells the Celtics, you got to prove something on your home court here.
Well, the numbers don't look great, but is there any historical precedent when it comes to a 7 seed beating a 2 seed here?
There is. Again, it's not common, but it's not unheard of. So here it is. Since the NBA went to its modern playoff format, the 8 teams per conference back in '84, the 7 seed against the 2 seed has won 5 times. It's lost 69, but it's won 5 of those series. That's about a 7% win rate for the number 7 seed against the 2. Here they are. Here are the 7 seed Giant Killers who knocked off a 2 in the first round. Now, one thing I could tell you, look, none of these 5 overcame an 0-2 deficit. All of these 5 teams did win one of the first 2 games. However, the 98 Knicks who beat the Heat, you remember those Knicks-Heat wars back there in the late 90s? The Knicks did fall down 2-1 in this series. So if the Celtics can win tonight, they would be on paper, down 2-1. The Knicks were down 2-1 in 98. They did come back. They beat that was the series. You remember Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning. There was that big fight. They both had to sit out the decisive Game 5. Allen Houston went wild. But anyway, I know it's rare for the Celtics to look for inspiration to the Knicks, but the 98 Knicks might be the inspiration here for Boston.
Yeah, some tough numbers right there, but we'll keep our fingers crossed for tonight. Thanks, Steve. Abby, we're going to toss it back to you.
So you're saying there's a chance? I'm kidding. Thank you, guys. Kemba Walker warming up. He is dealing with a bone bruise. We'll hear from Brad Stevens, the latest on that coming up. Plus, we've got the crossover. Stick around. The Hall of Famer, Mike Gorman, is coming up.
Celtics